kind of a light kind of blue cover, and there's like this black and white picture of a boy on it, and it's like a drawing kind of look, and the boy just has like one eye or something like that. It's like it's white and one. Oh gosh, but it's like a really popular book right now apparently. But it's driving me crazy. I can't remember it, but it's really interesting because it's all from the perspective of this boy who he had like brain damage when he was like a baby, and like he has like all these like illnesses and everything, so he's really handicapped and all that, but he's just like trying to go to school and be normal and have friends, but people still like bully him and everything or think he's just annoying. And so like they're reading this to this class of 6th graders, bringing up these issues of like physical disabilities, bullying, and everything. It's like I was already getting moved to tears in parts of this book. Like I was like, whoa. I think like especially in today's culture where there's a lot of bullying, it's like really good that they're bringing in these topics for young readers. You know, it's just like maybe they'll see somebody and say, like, instead of just thinking of them, it's just like, oh, they're just another person. That actually be like, they are a person. They have like needs and feelings and everything. So I just thought like that book was kind of hard to get through, but it was like, I don't know, I felt like they could handle it and maybe needed to be able to handle it. So yeah, if I find this book, I want to read it. It's really good.
These sections were really interesting. I think just hearing about like the history of books.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just like don't think about history when I'm thinking about books. It's like, oh, we have books everywhere. They just came.
Yeah.
Just in our libraries.
Yeah, that's one thing that came up as I was doing all these readings, was thinking about how books written, like if you were to compare books written before, during, and after like the Civil Rights Movement, they're all going to be so different.
Yeah, it's going to go from like Fun with Dick and Jane to the other side, you know?
Yeah.
What's that one? Do you have to do that reading?
That was something that was at the top of...
I saw that. I didn't know if that was our jigsaw or if like the sections, the Rethinking Schools.
Page 10 and 11 in here. It was a list of ways you can analyze books for racism and sexism.
Oh.
So like looking at illustrations for stereotypes, tokenism, and like seeing the relationship between different characters within those illustrations.
So by tokenism, does it mean like, oh, we have an all-white cast, let's put in an African-American kid just for the sake of being diverse? Is that kind of like what it means, or?
The little paragraph says, if there are non-white characters in the illustrations, do they look just like whites except for being tinted or colored in? Do all minority faces look stereotypically alike, or are they depicted as genuine individuals with distinctive features?
Oh, okay. That's important.
Oh yeah, same thing, huh?
Oh, is it that tilted thing again?
Yeah.
No, like I was like having to get my laptop and like flip it up like a book just to read it.
I think
can
I
rotate them
rotate it, but
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh. Sorry, that was random. I just didn't know if we were supposed to do that part.
Yeah,
That's good to look at though.
yeah. And then it talks about checking the storyline for like what standards for success are there for each race or
Oh, like what they kind of
culture.
value, or?
Like the quote here is like, is making it in the dominant white society projected as like the only ideal, or are there other ways to be successful? Because definitely different cultures are going to have different standards for what success means.
Right. Like for not every not every culture thinks like going to college and getting a high-paying job is the most important thing in life. Like
for some, it's just having a family and children and
having a house, or like following your passions or something like that. So that's a good important point to bring up. Yeah. Because like especially with the young readers, that's kind of when they're starting to learn like, okay, what am I striving for? Like when you're a little kid, everyone's always asking you, what do you want to be when you grow up? So it's like insinuating like, what job do you want to do? What's going to be your big goal, kind of thing. So I think it's kind of, it's like important to bring up stuff like that in kids' books, saying like, okay, well, what do you want to be when you grow up, or what do you want to do when you grow up? You know.
It's a really good point to bring up. Like, I never thought of, like, because I always think, oh, what do you want to be? Like, they may not want to be anything. They might just want to do something with their life. Rather
Yeah.
Like,
Almost kind of making it seem like you only have one option. Like, you're going to grow up and be a doctor, and that's it. You're always going to be a doctor. Like, you found your little slot, you know? But
yeah.
it's not really giving you options like, I want to go travel the world when I grow up, or I want to be a stay-at-home mom when I grow up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like if you ask, like, what do you want to be, it kind of takes away that underlying thing. Like, you can be something, but you can do much more than just be that something.
Yeah. Almost like, I don't know if I'm getting too deep into this, but like, I'm just thinking like labeling and everything, you know? Like, what if like you ask like a little kid, like, hey, Jimmy, what do you want to be when you grow up? And what if he said, I want to be Jimmy, you know? I want to be
me.
Yeah. I think that'd be so cool. You're like, way to go, little Jimmy. Be yourself, dude. Sorry.
Okay, so where are we now?
Person D?
Yes. So are we just talking first about chapter 5? Or are we kind of going over all the jigsaw stuff that we did?
I just did chapter 5.
Okay, that's kind of, yeah, because I took like
And
notes
we
on.
kind of just hit on the rethinking schools, so.
Yeah. So my first question was, what genres started to emerge based on consumer culture and the growing formats of kids' books? So kind of another history thing. And like when I saw like this whole thing about history of books, I was like, oh, cool! Like I never even thought about this history, like what you were saying. So let's see, what I was saying. I took some little notes. Kind of like you were saying earlier, in the like that there weren't a whole lot of illustrated, especially books, and like only the horn books and all that. But it was kind of like during the 1970s, 80s, and 90s that well illustrated, like they emphasized the illustration part. Well illustrated informational books for all ages, and they had like a lot more of like kind of like there were informational books, like nonfiction, but there was a lot of illustrations to go with it. And let's see. Oh yeah. Also during like especially during the 90s, there was the start of the I Can Read books. So it's like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and like I always remember like in kindergarten, like the little square books with the orange covers and everything, and like.
Yeah.
I always remember this one that was about this kid who really wanted ice cream, and he was just throwing this temper tantrum because he really wanted ice cream, and I don't know how. I always remember that, but I guess it left an impression. But yeah, it was like especially during the 1980s that there's a lot of early reader books, so it's like it wasn't just like that idea we were talking about earlier about little adults. Like they were acknowledging like, okay, these kids are learning to read. Let's put a lot of pictures, fewer words, but kind of just levels, you know. And so like a lot of these kind of books were like Little Bear. They mentioned Little Bear. I was like, oh my gosh, Little Bear. Little Bear, Dr. Seuss, and Henry and Mudge. Did you guys ever read Henry and Mudge? Oh my gosh. And also, like was mentioned earlier, like when the awards started coming out, there was, I think it was in 2006. It was the first award for early reader books. Like they made that a specific category, and so that won for one of the Henry and Mudge books. I thought that was pretty cool. Also introduced in this time was poetry for kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I immediately thought of Shel Silverstein because I love his poetry. So yeah, like they kind of started making poetry more aimed towards younger students as well. And then also there's a thing about how did this change how the books were marketed. Let's see. There's like a big shift when federal funds were kind of taken away more from the libraries. So that's kind of when the like that market for children's books kind of went down, but then bookstores started becoming a lot more popular. And so let's see. Sorry. Reading my notes, see if I can read my handwriting. It was also during this time that like editors kind of started shifting their focus in children's books to really lavishly illustrated books. because like technology was starting to become better, so they could print these really lavish illustrations, but it wasn't as expensive. So like that market started to really boom. Kind of one of the examples was the Polar Express. Oh yeah, like if you think of like the illustrations in that book, and they're really like very so they're very colorful. Also, this kind of helped with nonfiction illustrated books and wordless picture books that kind of like helped them stay popular. And also during the another little note was they introduced the cardboard books for babies, like like Goodnight Moon and
Like chew on.
yeah, exactly, durable
Thick
books.
pages and
Yeah, so like these were starting to be introduced, and like toy books was something they mentioned. Like it came with like a little stuffed animal, or I always think of those little books that had like the wheels on them and were about trucks or something like that.
I've seen the ones that are like fabric.
Yeah.
They have like mirrors inside.
Yeah.
And, like, things you
Right.
can
Or like
take
crinkly
scrunch.
things.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love those.
Yeah.
Like I remember my little old McDonald had a farm one when I was a little kid. Where is that? But then during the 1970s were when the first paperback picture books, try saying that 10 times fast, and paperback chapter books became popular, and like they started doing a lot more chapter books for young readers in the 70s, like Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, those became really popular. And then because there was this big increase in children and teen literature, a lot of more like big corporations that weren't really invested or involved with books, they started investing in buying up these publishing houses and kind of getting that market going. And also this was when there was a shift toward teachers and libraries again starting to embrace these younger books. So schools started buying books a lot more again. So this is just kind of like the whole change in the market, like because there was this introduction of children's lit, like that market just boomed because there's such a demand for it, and people really kind of started embracing it too. So, and then there's this kind of fun little one down here. What do I notice when I go into bookstores today? So I immediately thought of my times being in the children's children's section of Barnes and Noble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like I always remember how immediately